Thanks, everyone. I've jokingly said this is going to be the least technical talk of this entire conference, so please bear with me. So my name is Alan. I'm the current CEO and project lead at THORSwap, and soon Metro, which is a new brand application we're launching. So yeah, I'm here to really talk about not the tech side of things, but really how we can use the tech for users. So a bit of a context around THORSwap. So we were founded back in DeFi summer, originally as the front end for THORchain, and a lot of people would know as one of the OG Bitcoin DEXs. So for the first time, you could do cross-chain between Bitcoin, like native Bitcoin, and Ethereum, and then soon any other chains. Today, we are a leading aggregator, supporting 6 cross-chain protocols, including near intents. And right now, I mean, this number is constantly growing. We're launching SUI pretty soon. So 27 chains, and we aggregate tens and thousands of long-tail assets. We've done close to 4.6 billion in volume over the years, and a bit over a year ago, we spun off our backend, and it's now its own team called SwapKit. So that's also one of the main distribution channels for near intents. So if you use Ledger, like Trust Wallet, Big Air Wallet, like the major wallets, near intents, like the swaps, is provided through SwapKit API. So it's a bit of a view there of what THORSwap looks like today. And so basically, at the core of what we do is trying to solve the multi-chain problem, because people mention the phrase like multi-chain is the future for a long time, but for us, it's like multi-chain, it should be now. But the biggest barrier has always been, centralized exchanges always had better UX, for users, because essentially they abstract away the concept of chains. So for a lot of crypto users, they're onboarded through centralized exchanges for the first time, and they just never have the concept of chains, because you could swap Bitcoin to Ethereum to Solana, directly. But obviously, we all know the trade-off is, you don't have privacy. There's always the custodial risk, and every cycle there's one big major blow up, and nobody's really too big to fail. But the other problem is actually using assets like native Bitcoin is very difficult on chain. So traditionally, there's a lot of reliance on wrapped Bitcoin and synthetic versions of Bitcoin. And obviously, that also comes with counterparty risk, because one bridge hack can just wipe out your underlying asset. So the result of that has always been often users are siloed into ecosystems, and we see that Bitcoin dominance this cycle has remained above 60%. So essentially, more than half of crypto is stuck on Bitcoin and is not really being utilized, or it's being utilized off-chain. So liquidity is not flowing as much as it should be, on-chain. And obviously, like I said, with that, users they lose self-custody relying on these off-chain solutions. So over the years, this is not the technical breakdown, obviously, but just a few examples. Over the years, there's been many proposed and executed solutions to solve this problem. We started with atomic swaps being quite popular, but peer-to-peer models are very hard to scale without constantly available liquidity. So last DeFi summer brought along Uniswap, and THORchain was essentially Uniswap but cross-chain, which brought retail liquidity on-chain. But it needs TVL, right? And with AMM models, impermanent loss has been a big thing, and it kind of over time, users has become quite sensitive towards that. And also chain integration actually is quite complex. So with the rise of near intents, intent-based models, like RFQ models, that has actually really grown the cross-chain sector over the past a year or two, especially through, for example, the one-click API, which we use. Essentially, it's you have atomic swaps, but there's always professional market makers acting as silvers on the other side to fulfill your swaps. So that just means your quotes can be executed in a very fast and efficient way, and adding new chain support and new asset support it's become a lot easier. There's another way, this quite popular model, which is, there's many names for it, but essentially with chain abstraction models like Hyperliquid, that's a different model where you would have to deposit the funds onto the execution layer, and then swap, and then withdraw, right? So it's kind of like central exchanges without KYC, if you will. I think for us, that model is, essentially you're still not trading the underlying assets until you withdraw. So for now, what we're building is very much focused on kind of like in the middle, where between AMM models and intent-based models, the users can always get what they want, in a single transaction between their own self-custody wallets. So on THORSwap, we integrated near intents like late June last year, and it's been a real game changer for us. So we've done over 300 million in volume in under 6 months. And also, the interoperability aspect, like I mentioned, it allowed us to double the amount of new chains we integrated, last year versus 2024. So now, today, actually, it's the leading provider by volume on THORSwap. But again, so this is where I kind of go back to the consumer thing. Everything I just said, it's for this conference, right? But to be honest, our users don't really care. Like, that's the truth of it. There's every cycle, every year, there's new, like, very popular words. Like, often when we tweet, we have to mention, like, oh, it's interop, it's, multi-chain, cross-chain, omni-chain, all this stuff. But users, really, they don't really care. That's up to us. Like, our job is to kind of actually offer the rails that are safe and secure for them, and then what they actually care about is self-custody and the access to the underlying assets. Which is why today I'm really proud to introduce our new brand and app we're launching called Metro, which is a renewed focus on delivering these solutions for consumers. So why the name Metro, right? So the inspiration came to me when I really think about like what it is in our daily lives that we, in terms of UX, we interact with. That's actually quite similar to managing assets cross-chain. And that's essentially just like, traveling, right? So if we imagine blockchains as countries and tokens as cities or stations, if you will, like flying here from New Zealand to San Francisco, like I use like Booking.com or Expedia, all these apps, and it's basically going from point A to point B, right? So the providers could be airlines, they could be, different modes of transportation. But at the end of the day, this is something that users are actually very intimately familiar with, and it's always very intuitive to them, right? And so for us, it's really about, once you get to the station, if you want to stake on the chain or whatever, it could be like, oh, I'm booking accommodation or something, right? So I think this is not, like Web 2 has actually solved a lot of these user UX problems. It's just we've become so familiar with like the way Web 3 does things that often the onboarding process and just adding features on top has caused a lot of UX friction. So yeah, that's kind of the inspiration and our ethos when we're building Metro. Like I mentioned, the goal here is really to have a unified DeFi app that offers essentially trust and trustless systems. So we will integrate self-custodial decentralized solutions, whether it's swaps or staking or anything of the sort, but really try to give that user experience is even better than central exchanges if possible, because that's the way we can actually like get users to use on-chain. And for us, since we've been around for 2021, like we believe native Bitcoin is going to stick around. So our goal is also focus try to connect the liquidity rail to and from native Bitcoin. And yeah, like I mentioned, really trying to build like design for the users and not necessarily the tech. So I'll just give one simple example because the time is really short here. So this is a chart that we've been sort of like updating over the years on THORSwap, which is basically each time we add a chain, you can see like there's so many wallets, so we have to support time. I stopped updating this like early 2025, but it's gone ridiculous over the years, right? So we did a survey last year of the users, and the number one complaint was they don't want to juggle like 5 different wallets, and it's just so complex. And it's, a lot of new users, they also don't understand like, oh, and this is before MetaMask added Bitcoin support, but they're like, why can't I use, connect Bitcoin from MetaMask? I use MetaMask for years. And so you have to teach them, this every single time, right? So with Metro, what we've built is our own native embedded wallet using a combination of key store and passkey to secure the file, but it's completely like local. So that's like a balance where I think there's solutions now where it's, it could be stored on a server somewhere or you just use your email, right? I think for us, self-custody is still like super, super important. And it's kind of fundamental to how we want to like onboard users onto crypto in general. But we want to make it as smooth as possible. So as you can see, this is kind of like, you got to save your seed and secure it, obviously. But once you do, you have access to all the chains that we support. And you can just unlock your wallet, in one click from that point onwards. And I think this is kind of the zeitgeist. I've seen a lot of tweets, and this is just one example of where I think general users, and we talk about like why retail was not here or all of that stuff, it's become very complex to navigate all the chains, all the ecosystem, and all the apps. So we see Metro kind of sitting within the middle of blockchains, the different protocols, and having access to tokens, right? And like there's many designs for where super apps might be going, but I see DEXs and dApps becoming like wallets is like multi-chain is already built in, and wallets are becoming decentralized protocols as well. So that's kind of where the intersection will be, and it's really for us to do the best job we can to kind of make sure that we can distribute these products to users. So this is an example of once you created your wallet, like what a swap might look like. So you could also unlock it using your phone. It almost acts like a two-factor, right? So and the point of all this is like we basically have to beat the centralized exchanges in terms of like how fast you can log in, do a swap, and get the asset, right? So yeah, with our built-in Metro wallet, you can get your quote. We'll find you the best provider by speed, by time of execution, and yeah, it just works. That's basically what crypto is supposed to be, right? Like if you want to know who the providers are, why like the tech behind them is working, you could, and that's for experienced users. But it's our job to basically consolidate the best decentralized rails possible so that we can actually do our job, which is give them the best support possible and make sure the security and of their assets is always safe. So yeah, unfortunately that's me. I'm running out of time, but yeah. So I believe the future of crypto is on chain, and Metro will take you there. Thank you. So yeah, I'm actually proud to announce we're shadow dropping the open beta for Metro today. So we just like turned off our closed beta access. So if you could go to metro.exchange, you could actually give it a try like right now. So yeah, and that's how you can reach me. Thank you.